From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Kent's Meats and Grocery is much more than a grocery store. We carry a full line of quality meats, local and organic vegetables, and a large variety of fish, Green Mountain Smart Control pellet grills, and a full deli case of sandwiches and side dishes.
Happy Tuesday morning to you. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. Let's get you right into your weather headlines and talk about this dry and mild conditions this week. You know, these headlines, they're not going to change much because there's not much change in overall pattern. Breezy, a little windy at times. What we're seeing here the next couple of days, though, any winds that we have seen, they're slowly subsiding. So even the foothills east of the valley should start to see some calmer winds here over the next few days. But again, no big changes going well into next week. All right, let's get you right through Krueger's quick cast for those of you that are in a hurry and just want a quick look at the forecast. Getting you out the door here for this morning. A little chilly to start off the day. Temperature somewhere around 40 degrees at 8 o'clock this morning. 20s, even some 30s for some of those warmer spots, if you will, in the higher elevations, and upper 30s along the coast. We still have that beach hazard statement that is in effect until 3 o'clock tomorrow. Sneaker waves, that's going to be the biggest concern here along the beaches here through the next 24 hours or so. There you can see the big ridge of high pressure. That's the dominant feature here. It did allow some of these high clouds kind of filter through yesterday. We could see some more high clouds later this afternoon, but overall you're talking about a lot of sunshine. Now the winds, yeah, they're not a factor. It may be a little breezy at times through the day today in the valley, as you can see, 10 to 15 miles per hour. But look at the foothills east of the valley. We're really not that concerned about the winds there today. However, later this evening and tonight, there you can see the winds beginning to pick up again. This is not a major wind event. I'm not expecting any more power outages in that region, but do be aware of the fact that if you do live in some of those foothill locations, Paradise, McGilly, for example, you'll probably start to see those winds begin to pick up again later tonight. Again, nothing major, but you'll just notice a ramp up in those winds. So for today, actually a little bit warmer than it has been. There you can see temperatures low to even some mid-60s for some of the warmer spots in the valley. And there you can see those 40s for most of the higher elevations. And temperatures along the coast should be in the upper 50s for your daytime highs. And let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for the valley. Temperatures actually slowly ticking downward. We're in the upper 50s by the weekend and even into your Martin Luther King Jr. Day. All right, let's take a look at the coast, inland, and for Trinity County. Looking at temperatures, really not changing much there either. I do anticipate to see temperatures somewhere in the low 50s by Friday through the weekend there as well. Let's take a look at Siskiyou, Modoc, and the Eastern Mountains. And what you'll notice here is those temperatures actually kind of going up and down a little bit. But we do expect, of course, I think across the board for everybody in Northern California, those cooler temperatures as we go into the upcoming weekend. All right, that's a look at Krueger's Quick Cast. Let's get into our deeper dive, and we're going to start with the fires in Southern California. That's the big headline. A lot of you probably have friends or family in that area. You want to know what's going on. First and foremost, the good news that we can take out of this map here and even from yesterday is we're not seeing any reds or oranges on the map. That would indicate, if we saw those colors, that there was recent fire activity, any recent fire activity that's been detected by the satellite image. And you'll notice we're not seeing that. We're seeing more yellows and even these gray colors. So now you're going in upwards of 4, 5, 6 days old that a lot of this information is, as far as the satellite detected activity. So that's the good we can take out of it. The Hearst fire, 97% contained. The Palisades fire, 14% contained. And the Eaton fire at this point, about 33% contained. Now we still have gusty winds and low humidity to be concerned about here in this area, which is why we still have a red flag warning through about midday tomorrow. And of course, that's also accompanied by either a high wind warning or a wind advisory for the areas in blue here, also through about midday tomorrow. So the winds still a factor today, still a factor at least through the first half of the day tomorrow, and then the wind should start to subside in that area by the time we get into your Wednesday, Thursday. Let's take a look at future forecast winds here. Again, you can see just how gusty those winds are in those foothills kind of surrounding Los Angeles. Now we go into your Wednesday around midday. Again, we're still seeing some gusty winds, and even off into the mountains, we're still seeing a bit of that Santa Ana type of wind, keeping those winds fairly strong. But look what happens as we go into Thursday. There are going to be some of those mountain ridges where we're seeing some of those gusty winds, but you can see overall, we're finally starting to see those winds beginning to relax a little bit, and that certainly should be a big help. But again, we look at the fire weather risk, which includes temperature, humidity, and wind. And since temperature is not a big factor, we're not going to get into the reds or the purples. But we are still looking at that elevated fire risk here for today. Now you see a bit of a relief here going into tonight, but there it is, lighting back up again by midday tomorrow with those yellows indicating that high fire weather risk. Now you can see as we go into your Thursday around midday, you see how it's not lighting up as much. That's because, again, we're seeing those winds begin to die down, and that's going to be a big help. Let's take you back closer to home here in Northern California. Now, as I was mentioning, still a little breezy for some of us in the valley today, 10 to 15 miles per hour, nothing major. What you'll notice, though, for tonight, though, is that the winds may pick back up again for some of those foothill locations around Paradise, Magalia today, but not, or this evening, really. Not enough, though, that I think we're going to see any more power outages. It'll just be a little gusty at times. But there you can see by Wednesday, those winds do start to subside, and they subside even more across the board by the time we get into Thursday. So this is that overall trend that we have here in Northern California, as those any winds that we have seen over the last few days and even over the past weekend, they're slowly subsiding. Now, the big ridge of high pressure, as you can clearly see by the arc in the clouds right here, we're still seeing some of those high clouds filtering in, but overall, we've still got a lot of sunshine in the forecast. And unfortunately, when we look at the long-range forecast model, we're not seeing any chances for rain in the forecast. Now, we do have, by the end of the week, this disturbance kind of pushing off to our north and east. Now, you see how we're seeing some tightly packed isobars here, those lines? That's where the strongest winds are. So we're really not within the vicinity of those stronger winds. However, we're kind of on the edge of it. So the winds may pick up a little bit here for many of us on Friday, but again, nothing to be terribly concerned about. And then you can see another little weak disturbance, maybe the winds kind of picking up here over the weekend. You can kind of see those isobars kind of coming on through. And then going into Monday of next week, we still have high pressure in place. But another thing you'll notice, yes, the winds may pick up a little bit here as we go into the weekend and early next week. But the other thing we'll notice is we're not seeing any rain coming into the picture here. And that's why we've got the drier than normal conditions here for January 20th through the 24th. So I don't anticipate to see much in the way of rain anytime soon. So some of you are probably expressing concern about the lack of rain that we have not only now, but have in the future here, don't have much for the rest of the month. So let's take a look at our water situation. Number one, let's take a look at the snow cover. So there you can see, of course, what we're measuring here, the snow cover. So the Northern Sierra and Trinity. Now, percent of April 1st average is 58%. But when we look at the normal to date, most of us are doing pretty good, especially the north end here, right? We're at about 127% of average. Looking good there. Now look what happens as we start heading southward. The Central Sierra, the normal to date is down to 79%, and the Southern Sierra is 57%. Now, this is something that's really not that much of a surprise because the fires that we're seeing in Southern California is due to the lack of rain that we've seen in that area, very dry conditions. So it would, of course, lead us to believe that we're not seeing as much snowpack in that region either. And that's definitely the case here. Most of it has been to the north. That's why we're 127%. But you see, as you start heading southward, you start seeing less and less of that precipitation, rain and snow, for example, and that's why those numbers are a bit smaller. But when we look at the statewide average, we're at 86%. So again, looking pretty good. Would it be nice if we saw some better numbers down to our south? Sure, but we're doing okay. We're doing fine for now. We just hope that we can eventually start to see some more rain and more snow in the future. Now, again, another thing we look at are our reservoirs, the lakes. How are lake levels doing? Well, again, you take a look at the historical average, and this is really the important number right here. Where are we? Where should we typically be this time of the year? And we're above 100% pretty much for most of the reservoirs over California. So that's good to see. But what's not so great to see is the fact that we're just not seeing much more rain or snow for the rest of the month. Now we look at the ski report here. Still looks pretty good out at Mount Shasta Ski Park. I had an opportunity to watch my son during his alpine races. And it was great to see the kids out there having such a great time and doing such a great job. And there's still plenty of snow up there. I got to do some skiing, and yes, it's a little icy in spots here, but overall still some pretty good skiing out there. Take a look at the beach hazard statement again until 3 o'clock tomorrow. A risk for sneaker waves, that's the big concern here as we go into the next 12 to, it's actually 24 to 36 hours. So there you can see your wave heights. Let's take you into your Wednesday. You're not really seeing much change there. So as a result, when we look at our marine forecast, no small craft advisories. Winds from the north at about 5 knots. There's your waves, there's your high and your low tide for today. All right, let's go and take a look at our forecast here, your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. And you can see about 55 degrees for a high today in Lewiston, 56 Hayfork. Unfortunately, we look at that 7-day outlook, we're not seeing much in the way of rain at all. There you can see 60 degrees in Fortuna, as well as Blue Lake and Honeydew about 62. Up north, about 63 degrees in Gas Key, 62 degrees for Smith River, 61 for Orleans, and 60 for a high today in Willow Creek. Here's your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures in the mid to upper 40s there, although some of the warmer spots like Happy Camp about 52, as well as Dunsmuir, 54, McLeod, and Mount Shasta City, a high today of about 50 degrees. Your Modoc County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures in the mid to upper 40s for your daytime highs today. No rain in the forecast anytime soon. 40 for Westwood, 49 in Chester, 53 for Mineral, and 60 degrees for a high today in Paradise. Let's take a look at your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by Walgamuth Painting. Your temperatures in the low to even some mid-60s for some of those warmer spots out there today. For example, 65 degrees for Lakehead, 66 for the city of Shasta Lake. That might be a little bit on the warm side here. You can see about 63 for Redding. But overall, we're talking low to mid 60s for your daytime highs today. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook. And yeah, so it was showing the high of 63 for Redding, but the 7-day outlook is 66. And I do expect somewhere in the mid 60s here for Redding. 63 for Thursday. And then temperatures dropping a little bit here, around 59 to 60 for Friday and Saturday, and upper 50s by Sunday, Monday. That is your morning update. I'll be back again at noon for your latest forecast. Until then, have a great morning.
Wiggly mouth.
Woggy mouth.
No.
Painting.
Wiggy mouth.
It's Woogie Moth Painting.
It's Walgamuth Painting, and yes, we'll paint anything.